It's March of 2021, towards the back end of my freshman year in high school. And by this point, the school has placed us in the career classes that we will be taking for the rest of our time there. Now in this particular class, there are about 20 to 30 other kids with me. And on the first day when we were all able to be together, mind you, this was right after the lockdown. So half the class would be on Zoom, half the class would be in the classroom, vice versa. There was one kid who really stuck out to me, and we'll call him Jacob for the sake of this story. Now at the time, I'm a very skinny 5'9", 120 something pound 15-year-old. And keep in mind that this was during the health crisis, so during the school day, we spent a lot of time going outdoors, throwing the football around, and doing a lot of sport-like activities. Now based on these metrics I've just told you, I think it's safe to say that I wasn't on the most athletic side at the time. You know, later on down the line, I used these metrics to my advantage in a sport that I did for the rest of high school, but this was right before that. The first day, he basically makes a comment on how small my size is and how he doesn't want me to get hurt and all that bullshit. But this was just the very surface level of what this relationship would turn into later on down the line. Now, I forgot to mention this, but Jacob is around 6'1" to 6'2". He is, as he said, around 190 to 200 pounds at this time. He has muscle, he plays football. On the side, he gives into a lot of degeneracy like drinking, smoking, doing drugs, and he eats like shit pretty much all day in the classroom. Somehow Jacob was still managing to get all A's while he was doing this stuff. He was, playing varsity football. But when he'd do things like pretend he's breaking up lines of coke on the school desk using his ID card and crush Smarties, and when he tried to light the desk on fire with a lighter, that's when that other side of him shone in the light more. Let's fast forward to around October of my sophomore year in high school, and one day in wellness class, I very intelligently decided to sit right next to him. It's just me and him and all his buddies sort of grouped around us. Now by this point, I got into my black belt training for martial arts. I was also doing cross country on the side of that as well. And so I built a little bit of muscle and strength at this point. I had something on my frame. And because of this, Jacob wants to go ahead and arm wrestle me. So me, him, and his friends go round and round doing arm wrestling competitions during wellness class. Now this was sort of an embarrassing moment for me because everyone around me was way stronger than I was. I didn't really know how to properly build strength yet. And so I'm really struggling in these arm wrestling competitions with basically everyone while getting filmed. Arm wrestling turns into me and Jacob hammering each other in the stomach. And even though I turned this guy's stomach pink, let's just say he turned mine completely pink, but I held it in. But once we've gone through that phase of sort of utilizing our physical strength on each other, Jacob does something that ruins this entire interaction for me. He starts reaching down to try and grope my willy, and that's when I smack his hand away. He tries again, and that's when I get the fuck out of that area of the classroom and find somewhere else to sit. Now, as the year goes on, I sort of come to realize the lack of mental stability and the level of toxicity that went on in his mind on a day-to-day basis. I remember there was a period of time during, I think, the winter to maybe early spring-ish of that school year where Jacob was nowhere to be seen for months. Now, at this point, I was really happy because I thought he was gone for good. But when he came back, I realized that he was placed in a mental facility for a few months, and I honestly wasn't surprised. I remember an instance earlier that year when he came into school saying that he genuinely felt good that day and how that was sort of different for him. Fast forward to the start of my junior year, and I'm up on the second floor of this big classroom that we had where we had a little pull-up bar. And I'm just repping out a few pull-ups up there, getting in some practice. Now at this point, I'd sort of been known for being able to rep out a lot more pull-ups than my other peers, right? This was the most athletic and physically fit I'd ever been in my life up to this point. So I was practicing a lot. But as I'm repping out my pull-ups up there, I hear these footsteps going up the stairs behind me. And who else could those footsteps be but those of Jacob himself? Now from memory, I'm sort of coming down from the bar at the end of my set, and Jacob is saying something like he wants to pick me up and position me on the bar or something. But what he does next is something that I will never forget. And let's just say, this was sort of the last straw that eventually completely put an end to Jacob's harassment, at least towards me. He starts picking me up by the groin starts trying to lift me up onto the bar. And that's when I break out of his grasp and confront him. I think all he really said was, "That's not cool, you can't be doing that." Like, how do you really come up with the best response on the spot like that in that type of scenario? You know, it's just me and him upstairs, no one else can see us. And so he chose the perfect time to try and pull his fucking disgusting act on me yet again. Mind you, like I said, he's about 200 pounds at this time and I'm 130, very lean. So needless to say, he tried to choose the perfect target to go after twice. I basically just go home, tell my parents what happened. They report it to the teacher. The next day, the whole class has a talking to about the teacher about that type of stuff. Afterwards, he pulls me out in the hallway, tells me he doesn't like that shit, it won't slide, gives me a fist bump, and that's it. It's pretty much done and dusted. Like I said, since then, I didn't really have any sort of problems pertaining to him like that one. I think over time, he sort of got off the drugs. I think he just sort of stuck to smoking and drinking, which is obviously not good. But I think because of that, his behavior definitely got a little more under control. This kid obviously had a lot of issues. He had assault charges all the way from the start of his freshman year. I'm pretty sure he was in and out of more than one facility. He would get into it pretty bad with his mom from what I've heard. And overall, he was just a very troubled individual. I haven't seen him in about a year, but obviously I hope all the best for him now. In conclusion, guys, you're gonna meet people in your lifetime who are good, but you're also gonna meet some pretty fucking messed up individuals who are gonna try and take advantage of you or do things regardless of what you say or how you feel. They may not be on Jacob's level. I think Jacob is gonna be a pretty standout character for myself for the rest of my life, and I'm sure that would be the same for you. But there are just a lot of messed up people out there who've been through things that we may or may not already know of. When these people show up in your life, do not go near them. Do not allow them to manipulate you. Stand your ground like your life depends on it. Obviously, I did do some things like move to a separate spot in the classroom and report the behavior the second time and confront them. But you gotta realize that this behavior most likely won't stop unless you report it the first time, or you build yourself a strong fucking backbone to confront them very head on. Because like I said, it will just continue going on. And last but not least, these people are in your life so you can share your knowledge and wisdom on these encounters with people in the future, so you can enjoy the good people in your life even more, and you can feel an even stronger sense of relief and gratitude once your time with that person in your life is finally over for good. I hope this message helped you today, my friends. As always, keep putting in that work towards becoming at least 1% better each and every day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay grinding.